Hello everyone, welcome to another video about the Lord of the Rings living card game. In this video we are going to be taking a look at the player cards from the most recently released adventure pack, the Black Serpent, which is the fourth adventure pack in the Haradrim cycle. And once again I am joined by my friend and fellow Lord of the Rings player, Liam.
Hello there.
How you doing, Liam?
Not too bad in yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. Very happy to have a new pack, very happy to get some cards ready to review.
Exciting stuff.
Especially excited about this pack because I really like the hero in this pack, I have to say.
Yeah.
I've played with him already.
I was witness to that.
Yeah.
Very, very cool hero. Very cool deck as well.
He's nice, yeah. Before we begin talking about these cards though, I thought it might be interesting if we look back at the cards from the previous pack.
Yeah.
And think about maybe what we overlooked. Like, do you have any opinions now that we've had a month or two to play with them?
No, I think that's a good idea. I don't think to be honest, my Lord of the Ringsing for this past month has been, deck-wise, quite lazy. Saw the hero from the last pack and really liked him. And I think in all of our meets, I don't think I've played any other deck apart from him.
What do you think of him, Hergon?
I think he's just great fun to play. I really, really like the deck. I think it's taken like a few different iterations, and the one that I'm playing at the moment, I'm quite comfortable with. I quite like it. And yeah, I really like the hero. I think the hero is great fun. And I think it makes mono tactics just makes it like a much, much better deck for sure.
That's what you've been playing, right? Mono tactics.
Yeah, with a bit of a splash of spirit, just because there's a few nice spirit cards for the hero lineup. But yeah, no, I think Hirgon is an extremely good card, and it's just great fun to play. To be honest, really enjoying it. Like it's very funny, just questing with just your heroes and tactics, and getting to quite high quest like points, especially early game. It's really good, and then basically the allies that you play tend to do most of your attacking and defending. And I like putting attachments on those allies, so like having Legolas out, Boromir, putting a few attachments on them and just getting them really singing so that they hit hard and defend hard. Theoden's in the deck, and so is Eowyn. And Theoden is just built up to be a very big defender. Just as many sort of attachments as you can chuck on him, and he gets to the point where he's comfortably defending quite big hits, particularly with his shield, one big hit and then like sort of a few other little ones. Super fun deck, really enjoyed it.
It's been working quite well because a few of us are running Armoured Destroyer as well, and that can go on Theoden, so we get him defending a couple of times around the table.
Yeah, and the Splash of Spirit as well allows you to try and get Unexpected Courage if that isn't happening, if the Armoured Destroyers are going elsewhere or just aren't coming out. Definitely want to play the last two Harad quests with it, just for continuity. Yeah, I think I'll move on to something else. I think I'm looking forward to trying to rebuild the Harad deck that I was running before, because so in this pack as well there's another nice Harad card, and didn't get a chance to play with the spear that much, and I think that would be a really fun card to play with as well.
I think when we talked about Keep Watch, we weren't really sold on it at the time.
Yeah,
I was kind of keen to try it, but we weren't sure about how effective it was going to be. I think it was Chad from Cardboard of the Rings left a comment, said this card's really good, and when we played it, yeah, he's right. It was really good.
Yeah, I think we said it was it was like a good side quest, but perhaps not like tippity top, I think we may have phrased it. And no, it is really, really good.
Yeah, I think it really stacks up that -1 across the whole table as well when there's 3 or 4 of you. There was another combo that we overlooked with one of those cards that came out in that pack, and that was the combo where you can get Eleanor, who's the hero you can exhaust to cancel a treachery. And you can put Doughty Ranger on her, which makes her a ranger, and then you can put Wingfoot on her. So whenever a treachery is revealed, she'll ready, and then you can exhaust her again. So it's not the kind of thing that I personally like to do, like just completely break some central mechanic of the game.
I guess it makes treacheries completely obsolete, really.
It does, yeah, it does. So
if that's no limit to that either, isn't it?
No, and if that's your bag, like that's perfect for you.
Yeah.
But we did forget that one.
It's always fun to do that type of thing once, maybe twice, and then once you've done it, it's like, yeah, that was satisfying, but actually, you kind of want to play the quest, right?
Yeah, yeah. A bit like with the Dunedain, where when we did play Beneath the Sands in our group, he just basically defended everything, and it became a bit easy. It was fun. And
I would say that one maybe sort of is a little bit different, because it's definitely requires some setup.
It does, yeah.
And
it can fall apart as well.
Yeah.
I think we played a game once where it was 2 of us, and he actually got killed.
He did. Shadow cards got him. Yeah.
So,
but then that was the deck before the one where you introduced the silver lamp into it.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes it almost impossible to kill him, basically. But yeah, it's interesting because you made a deck around that card and the Dunedain and the side quest mechanics. and sort of made a mono tactics deck. So it's interesting that in just one pack you can have two quite fresh looking decks at least. Both decks were quite successful in the games that we've played. I like the consistency of the mono tactics deck that I'm on at the moment as well.
I still haven't gotten around to using that Rider of Rohan very well either. It was another card that I kind of bigged up. You weren't really sold on him, but I thought he was good. When I did play him this week, I took him out of the deck, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, so I played the new hero Fast Dread, Doonhir, and not Aowen, sorry, I used Pippin. No, Mary. I used Mary. Tactics Mary, because you had Aowen.
Yes.
And I did draw the Rider of Rohan, but cost 3, so with 2 Spirit Heroes, you have to wait at least 2 turns before you can get him down. And he didn't really do a whole lot, to be honest, so I think he's not right for that deck, but he might be better in another one where it's more about support, possibly. Thurindir, 2 Spirit Heroes, side questing, that might be better.
I think overall we were quite positive about the pack, and I think I still stand by that. I would really like to have a little bit more time to play some other decks, though,
yeah, totally.
and sort of really see those cards. I've seen you play quite a few sort of different types of decks, those ones in, but yeah, I've just been sort of on the mono tactics hype train and just. I'm liking it, so I'm going to keep playing it for a little bit longer, I think.
It's a good deck as well. My friend Joseph plays it, and he's beaten loads of quests with that deck.
Yeah, I've only ever played it, Mike.
It's really viable in solo as well.
Cool.
Beaten Nightmare Quest with it.
Feels like it would be, yeah.
All right, should we have a look at the cards from this pack?
Yeah, let's do it.
We've finished bigging up the last pack again.
Let's big this one up, hopefully.
All right, so the hero from this pack is Fast Dread. He is 9 threat cost, 1 willpower, 2 attack, 3 defense, 3 health. And he is Spirit, I don't know if I said that. He's Rohan traded and Warrior trait. And his text reads, response, after Fast Dread defends an enemy attack, return it to the staging area to reduce your threat by 2. Limit once per phase. What do you think of him?
Well, have you ever heard of him?
No.
No, neither had I. I googled him though, and he does have a small part to play. He died at the Battle of the Crossings of Poros.
Okay.
Fighting the Haradrim as well. So nice to see that we saw him in the Haradrim cycle.
And that location is going to make an appearance later in the cycle, I believe. So
really?
That's the last pack, Crossings of Poros.
Oh, that's really cool, actually.
Yeah, which hero do you think he's meant to pair with?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, obviously he goes great with Doonhir, which is the deck that I think you brought to our last little session.
Come on, this is Doonhir's BFF.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing that I do like about this, though, and we saw how successful he was paired with Doonhir in the games that we played, to me comes across as quite splashy as well. So that's obviously a deck built around him and his bouncing back mechanic. With those type of stats and that ability in Spirit, if you're running a questing deck or sort of a location control deck, a deck that doesn't want to get involved in combat, and you were looking for a Spirit hero, to have him would be brilliant, because even if you do get caught out and something attacks you that perhaps slip through the net of, if it's multiplayer, you're playing with a combat player, something like that, and you want to just get it off of you, defend it with him. His stats are great for defending. They're decent for defending. It's a very strong defense. His hit points are a little bit on the scary side with only 3. But yeah, you smash him in, defend something that slips through, bounce it straight back into the staging area, and the combat player can take it the following turn. So I think, although it's great that there's that viable combo for him that you've played, I do think that he's a type of hero that could conceivably be splashed into any Spirit deck, any deck that's looking for a sort of a blue hero at a reasonably low threat cost. And his threat cost is obviously somewhat mitigated by his ability as well. But so the Doonhir deck that you played him with, you had Mary as your third hero. Would you have preferred Aowen?
Yeah, so I've played that deck in solo now against the Black Serpent and managed to beat that quest a few times with it as well. So I think it's definitely a solid deck, but I think Aowen's definitely the one to go with in solo, just because the other 2 heroes have got 1 willpower. So her 4 willpower makes up for that. And then all the rest of the deck, not all of it, but most of it is cheap Spirit allies with 1 or 2 willpower that kind of get you over the starting hump. He needs some support, really. He's not as viable as Beregond as like, I'm ready to defend from turn 1 and I'm safe kind of thing. So in that deck, I'm actually using Raiment of War, which gives him 4 defense and 5 health, which I think is enough. But then when you use Arwen and Domil, the ally,
yes, I was going to say,
you can get him to 5 defense, and that's been more than enough for me in the Black Serpent. He'll take a couple of wounds over the course of the game, but he hasn't died yet.
I think importantly as well with Arwen, Gives him Sentinel as well, right? So
Yeah, so in multiplayer, he was quite good as like a backup defender. I think we had Theoden doing most of the work, and then this guy was like, okay, we need somebody else to handle that smaller enemy. Let's use him.
Yeah, I think we actually we were playing with the third person as well, Steve, and we all had quite defense heavy decks, which worked out quite nicely in that quest because
there are a lot of enemies,
and the enemies are hard as well, like very tough enemies, and consistently tough. Like, but yeah, I think you're right. I think he does need a little bit of help to get him there. But even in a pinch, I mean, he can be defending sort of 3 defenses is already pretty good. I do think his hit points are a bit scary at 3. I do think
he's a bit like a Marthiel, 3 defense and 3 health. So he needs something. If you're going to take on the harder quests, you can't rely on him without any attachments. But there's stuff out there. The other advantage he's got as a defender is that he's spirit, so he's got access to hasty stroke.
Yes.
So cancelling stuff, and Dwarven Doom to get it back, and Test of Will, obviously.
Yeah. The fact that he's got 2 attack as well is quite nice. Because if you don't use him for a defense, then the 2 attacks are not going to sort of, that's always nice to have on sort of a spirit side of things.
It actually did come into play in the Black Serpent. He actually helped to kill him. So I didn't mention Unexpected Courage. Obviously amazing on a defender. He's got access to that. I'd use him to defend and then ready him an attack for the 2, plus Eowyn's 10 against the Black Serpent, plus a couple of allies. So that was enough to actually finish the quest off. So yeah, that did actually help. Having 2 on it was nice. And with Raiment of War, he's actually 3.
I think, and you're not going to be wanting too many other restricted attachments on him, are you? So Raiment of War is not going to be like terrible. Like, isn't the drawback of Raiment of War is not really going to come into play there.
To be honest, there's not a lot else you could put on him really.
No.
I started off with Gondorian Shield, but that's only 1 defense and nothing else because he's not Gondor. And then I had the Golden Shield as well. That only adds 1 because he's only got 1 willpower. So it's not great really, and I think you don't really need it. From my experience, 1 Raiment of War on him is enough to see him through the quest.
I think you sort of mentioned Baragon earlier as well, because obviously there's a Spirit Baragon now as well. Conceivably, you could make a pretty interesting defense-only Spirit deck, couldn't you? Maybe splashing a colour for your 3rd hero, but you could be, ironically, the defending player as a Spirit.
You'd be lowering your threat a lot as well with those 2.
Yes.
Possibly 3 a turn if you're defending 2 enemies.
Yeah, it's crazy. Digging into his second part of his ability there, so after he defends an enemy attack, return it to the stage area to reduce your threat by 2 once per phase. So I just think it's a really cool and fitting ability for him. He's spirit, you're dropping your threat. It's a nice touch. I think it really sort of, you worry sort of about sphere bleed, and you worry that are we seeing cards that really could quite conceivably be tactics cards just below. But actually I think the way they have these abilities and things, it sort of ties it together. It makes it that worry's just not there when it's sort of so well sort of thought about and made in this way.
I like Sphere Bleed, to be honest. The more decks that become viable and the more interesting characters we get to use, like the better.
I do agree completely, although I am a little bit wary of the fact that it's nice that there are defined roles for certain sort of colours, basically.
Yeah, as long as one sphere doesn't become the redundant sphere that nobody ever plays. But I don't think we're in a position or anything close to that at all.
No.
It's nice to see some splashing, like if you need healing now in leadership, you can use Dunedain Remedy, for example, and any of the other cards that they've released lately. Did you have any other deck ideas to take advantage of his second ability? The Dunehir deck is the obvious one.
Yeah, that's...
Engage an enemy, bounce to the stage area. And I've got to say, by the way, that I think one thing I like about him is that Dunehir decks, kind of historically, if I can use that word, they were always, for me, a bit win hard or fail hard. You either completely destroyed the quest, never engaged any enemies, and just slaughtered everything, or you got an enemy on you and you didn't have anything to defend it because your other heroes were like Frodo and Merry. And Frodo, you could take it as an undefended attack, but you really had no way to get it off you outside of, say, Feint or A Light in the Dark from the core set.
Especially in the early days,
Yeah. I like the fact that he brings it more into a kind of middle ground where if Dunehir's not online yet, you haven't lost the game. If it takes a couple of turns to see a weapon and you have to engage an enemy, you can keep going and you don't necessarily fail hard. A lot of the Dunehir decks sometimes use secrecy cards, and again, it's not really a build that I like that much because if you don't see them, you kind of fail.
But I mean, I suppose if a lot of Dunehir cards use secrecy, I mean, Fast Red is just awesome for it, right? Because
if you want to go that route,
reducing your threat by 2 every time you bounce someone back. I mean, secrecy could potentially be a sort of viable option in that type of deck.
But I like it now because you don't necessarily have to go down that route anymore. You can build something that's in the middle now, where you actually got a decent defender who keys in with Dunehir's ability.
I've got fond memories of Dunir decks because it was the first real deck that I made that actually could beat anything when I first started doing like the core set and stuff. I can't remember what the heroes for it were, but yeah, Dunir was the first. I think, and it must have been a law one because if anything got engaged in me, I would put the 3-cost law trap on it.
Oh yeah, Forest
Snare, and just take care of it like that. Any trolls or anything. But
funny, you should say that actually, because one other idea I had, and I don't know how good this will be, haven't tested it at all, but is maybe you could do a trap deck where you haven't got your trap yet, let's say, and you've drawn it, but you've got your enemy engaged. So you might play it into the staging area, then bounce it back with Fast Dread, and it will go in the trap. I don't know how reliable that would be. I was thinking maybe Damrod, Fast Dread, and maybe something like Sam Ganji, because he's a low-threat hero with access to leadership, so he gets through Gondor.
That's a really interesting idea.
What about like effects where you want enemies in the staging area? So I remember this epic play you did, where you discarded a Bjorning Beekeeper, which is a card that's been completely panned, but I think you managed to kill 4 or 5 enemies with this Beekeeper once. I mean, he keys into any of these cards that you want enemies in the stage now. So I've made like a little list that like you've got that guy, the Beekeeper. You've got stuff like Hands Upon the Bow, maybe.
Yeah.
Bounce it to the stage now and then kill it with Legolas, possibly.
Haldir as well.
Yeah, Haldir. Knight of Minas Tirith. So I've seen you play him in the Hurgon deck. You could bounce the enemy with this guy, and then after you quest successfully on the next turn, maybe kill it with the Knight of Minas Tirith. There's a really terrible card as well called Fresh Tracks Leadership Event. I think it does 1 damage to an enemy that gets added to the staging area. It might make that card playable. Probably not, but it's something I saw. Anyway, I was just thinking like any effect where you might want to bounce someone to the staging area.
Yeah, no, I think there's some really interesting combos that you could potentially unlock. I like the idea of that actually. That sounds like some really fun stuff. Quite tricksy. There's also the hero where you tap him and you can do damage by reducing.
Oh yeah, Argalad?
Argalad, yeah.
Yeah.
So in the direct damage deck that I've got, which uses Argalad, there's a lot of staging area damage effects there.
Yeah.
Things like
Halo
Stones and stuff like that. Is Halo Stones staging
area? Yeah, you exhaust
yeah,
characters and do damage to enemies in the staging area.
Yeah, I think this could be really interesting actually. Like because you could have all of that in a in the direct damage deck anyway. Yeah. And the direct damage deck actually uses Beragond, or the one that I sort of run. So Fast Red could potentially be a replacement there. Although it probably would be better paired with a deck that has Fast Red in, because I feel like it is really hard to play all of those events with tactics and the allies.
Yeah, so maybe we could try that as a pair of decks, and then I'd get access to Aeon again as well.
Yeah. Cool. No, I'm well game for that.
Cool. All right, should we look at the next card?
Yeah. I think that this hero is a really interesting one.
Oh yeah, overall, yeah, I'm really keen on him, and like I said, I've used him to beat that quest, which is supposedly difficulty 8.
As a little aside, do you think that quest really truly was a difficulty 8? I think we did make a misplay, we need to replay it.
I think we should replay it. So just so people know, I thought that you could cancel side quests. I was wrong. I thought you could use test will on a side quest.
I was happy to agree at the time, to be honest.
If you go by the reading of the cards, it says cancel a card revealed from the encounter deck. And it was revealed from the encounter deck. It's the Southron Champion side quest, which is a brutal side quest because it introduces... I think I played it earlier and I got a 5-threat enemy, 4 defense.
So it knocks you back at least 2 turns.
Yeah, it does. And that's tricky in this quest as well. If you get the Don't Let Them Escape side quest as well at the same time, which is taking progress off the main quest at the end of every turn. So anyway, that happened. So I think if that hadn't have been misplayed, then it probably would have been a lot harder. If we compare it to Karn Doom, which I'm not sure if Karn Doom is a difficulty 8 or a 9.
I don't think there is a difficulty 9, is there? We were discussing this and we were trying to think of one.
Somebody will tell us in the comments, I'm sure.
Tell us if there's a 9.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. But it was nothing compared to Karn Doom, because when we played that in 3 players, it was insane, but it's one of the best experiences I've had with Lord of the Rings playing that.
It took a lot of attempts.
Yeah, to see 40 resources worth of allies from my Kaldar deck get wiped out in 1 turn by Faradrim, just going insane from doing so many attacks. That was something to see. But we did manage to beat it. So it's no comparison to that. But it is quite difficult. I think maybe it's a solo rating, because you can get a brutal staging area on the first turn. You've got the Black Serpent, who's 1 threat, but you can potentially get a 4-threat location or an enemy with the Serpent's Garb on him, so another 4-threat.
I think it beat us the first time we tried it, didn't it? And that it had turn 1 there that was absolutely brutal, if
Yeah.
I remember rightly. And then it also had a very, very strong turn when the quest card went into the second phase.
That might be the
and
trick.
It just wiped us all out.
It's difficulty 8 if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You need to stall at stage 1 for a while.
And have some, and also have a reasonably clear board, because if you get caught out flipping the quest card and everything attacks you and you can't spend the quest points, then basically you just lose a bunch of allies.
Yeah.
Right? And then you just get absolutely smashed out. But yeah, sorry to sidetrack us there. Shall I go on to the second card then? So,
Sure.
Song of Hope, I believe. This is a leadership card. It's 0 cost, and it's a song. Attached to a hero, limit 1 per hero. Limit 1 per hero. Action, spend 1 resource from attached hero's pool and give attached hero +1 willpower until the end of the phase. Limit 3 times per phase, and this is an attachment. So, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, so the first thing is, I think it synergizes really well with the Fireside Song from the last pack. Clearly you had the same thought from that. It's suddenly looking like you can get a hero, maybe a Hobbit hero, because that's what the Fireside Song goes on, with a lot of willpower on him from songs. That Fireside Song would give 1 on its own, then 2 with this attached, and you could boost this 3 times per phase, so you get to 5, right? Bonus from just these 2 cards. So all of a sudden this is looking very good. Now, you need to spend a resource, but it's leadership. So Steward of Gondor, yeah, that card, ubiquitous card, but at least you've got access to other resource-gaining cards in leadership. So that's the thing I like about it initially.
There's also a song resource-generating card as well, isn't there?
There is, yeah, Love of Tales.
Love of Tales, yeah.
Yeah. My thought about it was, I'm wondering how relevant this might be to the next Saga box.
I think we're going to need a lot of willpower.
Yeah, so they've said that the final quest, where Frodo and Sam are trying to get to the top of Mount Doom, will punish ally swarming. So maybe you need to engage in a bit of hero hulking. And if you want to play Sam Gamgee to be thematic, he's a leadership hero, this leadership attachment, probably going to need a decent amount of willpower. They've talked about a fortitude test. We don't know what that is yet, but it may be a willpower-based test. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen a willpower test. And it would make sense when you're trying to overcome that final hurdle.
Also called Song of Hope.
It is, yeah, and that looks like a Hobbit.
It looks a little bit like Sam, potentially.
Yep, there we go. And it's got a quote from Sam on it.
Well.
So the more clues we find here, the more convincing this is sounding to me. But yeah, so maybe there could be a leadership spirit deck, maybe, where you've got 2 spirit heroes, because the Fireside Song costs 2, I think, and Sam Gamgee together. Maybe Galadriel, possibly.
Yeah, so I like it a lot on obviously Sam. But another hero I thought that might be quite interesting on is Eowyn. So with Eowyn, you can discard Spirit Eowyn, so you can discard a card buffer by 1, and everyone in the group can do that. So if there's 3 of you playing, you go by 3. And similar to her ability, you can wait until after you've seen all of the cards come off the top of the encounter deck, so you can judge exactly by how much you need to buff yourself. I mean, we've all played games with Eowyn, and her ability is tremendously useful. Sometimes you can miss by 1 or 2, and the ability to buff sort of by the needed amount is just incredibly powerful. And I think this is an interesting way to do it as well. You're just doing it with money instead. So with this, even if you're just doing it yourself with the discard, that's +4 with the money. That's pretty nice.
I was thinking about that because there are a few quests sometimes where you want to control the willpower you put in. That's always nice to have. Stuff like Conflict of the Carrack.
Yeah, where you don't want
to rush. You want to try to stall for as long as possible, maybe. And you can, with this, you can undercommit by a reasonable amount. If you know that like the most you can reveal is 3. With this, you've got that insurance policy of waiting to see what the card is, and then you can spend the required amount to boost it to just enough so you don't fail.
It's also not unique.
Yep, and I like the fact that it's any hero, by the way, because the Fireside Song was just Hobbits, which makes it kind of niche, but this is just limit 1 per hero, so you can't get them to crazy numbers.
No. But yeah, I think it's an interesting one. I really want to play a song deck now. I haven't seen all these songs. Like, I want to know if it exists, and if it does, I want to play it.
It's coming. I mean, we've got 2 cards in the last 2 packs that are revolving around songs.
I think, though, there's not much else I have really to say on Song of Hope. I don't know about you. It's quite straightforward, really.
Yeah, well, it's going to be good in any quest where you've got willpower tests as well. Here's the other thing, stuff like hide tests, escape tests, the fortitude tests, maybe, when we see what they are. We don't know. Yeah, it's a nice one. I like that it's free, too. Free attachments are always good. All right, so I think this next card's mine.
Yeah.
All right, it is a leadership event, cost 2. It's called Burst into Song, and it says, action, ready each hero with a song attachment. And there's a 4-line flavor text quote, which I'm not going to read because that'll take ages. We were just talking about a song card. Here's another bit of song support. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, I want to play this song deck even more
Oh,
now.
okay.
Like honestly, like I just think obviously if you're playing the songs, you're gonna want to play this card. I mean, two is expensive, so for me, two you want to be ready in two heroes, right?
Yeah, I
It'd be a
mean,
bit rubbish to pay two to ready one hero once because
there's
things like unexpected courage and stuff like that. It's just
there's already a leadership event that can ready a hero for one. It's called Swift and Silent. Costs one, ready a hero. So I agree with you. You probably want to be readying 2, 3, 4, or in multiplayer a whole bunch. That's probably the powerful aspect to this. Is it could be potentially 12 heroes.
yeah. Although then all everyone's have to be
Yeah.
running a song deck would be a bit
Yeah,
weird.
I mean that's unlikely, but that's sort of like the best case scenario. It depends on how much readying you would need in that quest.
yeah.
I don't really know.
And the thing as well, I do wonder, like, are the heroes that you're putting songs on, are they doing anything but questing? Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, great, you managed to ready someone with, like, one attack or one defense.
Also, if Sam is going to be the song hero,
Oh, he's pretty good at defending Sam, actually.
he is, but he's got a built-in readying effect. So maybe he doesn't really need this. Maybe this is an emergency ready for somebody else. I don't know.
Yeah, or maybe like, those times where you do need to genuinely defend quite a few times. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think, again, that makes me really want to play a song deck, but on the face of it, doesn't feel that strong.
No, I probably agree with that. The cost 2 is
Prohibitive.
a little bit
Well,
off-putting for me.
leadership,
It is leadership, yeah. One other benefit of it is that you can recur it with the Tome of Etanatar. But a point of comparison for this would be Cram as well, which is free. Free attachment gives you a ready one-off. It's a one-off effect, this one-off event.
Yeah.
As well as thinking, like, how can you get more uses out of it? With Cram, sometimes you're playing Erebor Hammersmith. You could use Second Breakfast, which is another leadership card to get that back. But with this one, there's not much potential for multiple use. So that's kind of sort of demerit as well.
I feel like this song deck, I feel like it's going to be fun. Do question its power. I just feel like, I don't know, when I look through the songs and just don't see those like crazy powerful reasons to do it, but apart from just for the fun of playing them.
That's a perfect invitation for someone to prove
I know,
you
right?
completely
Exactly.
wrong, which would be really good if they did.
I want to play one, and I'd love for someone to point me in the direction of a really fun one to play.
Me too.
Should we move on?
Yeah, okay.
Defender of Care Andros, which is a 4-cost tactics ally.
I like the way you said 4 cost. That's sort of ominous. Like...
4 is quite expensive.
Yeah, I know.
That's more than one turn of resources.
I know.
Potentially, depends on your hero lineup, obviously.
Sure, I'll get to that.
He's got 1 willpower and 1 attack, 0 defense. He's got 3 hit points. So far I'm thinking not much of a defender. Gondor and Warrior. Defender of Care Andros gets plus X defense, where X is the tens digits of your threat, limit plus 4 defense. That's brilliant. Has that ever happened before? The digits on your threat dial.
I don't recall anything.
I love it. I hope it happens again. I think that's so cool. Valor response, so you've got to be above 40 threat for this to work. After Defender of Care Andros is declared as a defender, deal 1 damage to attacking enemy. So I've got a few thoughts on this one, but what's your initial sort of feelings for this boy?
Yeah, well, initially I was a bit sort of wincing at that 4 cost, that is a lot. But the more I've read the card and thought about it, the more I like it. So one thing we talked about in the last video is the potential for a Valor deck with Hergon and the Red Arrow and so on. This guy is feeding straight into that idea. Maybe if there's a way we can get up to 40, where he's going to be 4 defense and he's going to be at his best, and hover there for the rest of the game, this is a deck that's going to key into very well.
Yeah,
I don't think we've seen that deck yet in the sense of it being, a tier 1 amazing deck, but this is another step towards it possibly. Point of comparison for this guy would be Defender of Ramas.
Yeah, I thought that as well.
Yeah, so Defender of Ramas is half the cost with 4 shields, 4 defense off the bat. This guy is probably going to be 3 most of the time.
I was thinking that. To be honest, I was thinking if you're playing tactics, you're probably going to be. It's starting probably in the 30s, high 20s maybe. You'll be in the 40s sort of at the mid-game point, towards the tail end of the game. So I think you're right. I think he'll be predominantly a 3 defense ally. Moving into the later game, he'll be at 4 defense. To be honest, that's not a bad thing. I mean, later on, often in the quests, they're going to be throwing much more stuff at you. It's better to have him optimal later than earlier.
I think the Hergon deck seems like a natural fit for this guy, just to get that out there, because he's actually 3, and you can lower your...
You can do it in 1 turn of resources then.
Yeah, you can raise your threat to
pump him again.
And get closer to Valor.
Yeah, exactly.
Well.
And he could potentially, he'll be at like, 4 or 5 defense then for that turn, which is super nice. I mean, like, I've been playing this Hergon deck a lot. I will be replacing my Defenders of Ramos with this guy.
Really?
I will. I mean, the things with the Defenders of Ramos is they are so cheap. Like, one cost with Hergon is really easy. But what I find more often than not when I'm looking at the allies in my hand, I'm not choosing to play them because I'd rather have the discount on one of my 4-cost allies, my more expensive allies. I'd rather just, because obviously you can only use Hergon's ability once per turn, I'd rather just flat pay for that Defender of Ramos if I have to. I will be replacing them. I mean, initially I just to test them more than anything. But having said that, the only thing about the Hergon deck is it doesn't really want for defending. Do you know what I mean? There are already some really good defenders in that deck, and including Theoden. Often I find when the Defenders of Ramos do come out, they're a bit redundant. But I wonder whether this guy would be different. I mean, I also thought maybe pop Remnants of War on him. All of a sudden, he's looking really, really nice for defense. He's a warrior as well, so there's a few other ways you can play about with that.
He'd be 3 attack as well, maybe, if you boosted his stats with Hergon.
Yeah, that's true.
3 attack, maybe 5 defense.
Yeah.
5 health.
5 health.
He's looking like a beast now.
Yeah, all of a sudden for 3 cost. Well, actually, I mean, you've got to take
5.
Down to 5. Yeah. Remnants of War does cost something. But yeah, all of a sudden he's looking very, very tidy. So I think it's nice to compare him to the Defender of Ramos, but his second part of his ability, I feel like that is a direct comparison to Gondorian Spearman. So again, he costs half the amount, but he's a really one-off kind of dude. Do you know what I mean?
He never sticks around.
If it happens once, doesn't it? Like, dealing 1 damage to the attacking enemy, and the reason why Gondorian Spearmen are so useful is that there's a lot of enemies that with 1 hit point insta-kills them. They don't get to trigger any nasty abilities. You don't have to worry about trying to waste an attacker to take on a Chud. Like a good attacker to take on a Chud. It insta-kills them. So his Valor response is a good response.
Also, there's no reason you couldn't put another Spear of the Citadel on this guy. That was a good trick with the Gondorian Spearman, was you could defend somebody with 2 health left and they just die instantly. Don't get a shadow effect or anything. So this guy you can do that there as well if you want to with him.
Absolutely, and that plays into another point that I wanted to make, or another deck that I thought I would quite like to try him in, but I think his cost might be very prohibitive in that. But the direct damage deck that I often run, he's doing the same thing as the Gondorian Spearman there, and you're actually digging trying to find them because they're so useful in the direct damage deck, because the amount of like chips that you do to the enemies before you even have to defend them, they're often, conceivably 4 or 5 hit point enemies are down to 1 and 2 hit points.
From Arglad and various other things.
Yeah, from Arglad and all the events and stuff. And of course, the Dwarf Hero, of course...
Thalin.
Thalin, of course, Thalin, softening them all up. My only issue with that is his cost will be really hard. That deck is already very, very hard to pay for everything everything that you're trying to do with that deck, and saving up 4 is tricky. I mean, like in that deck, the only time I ever want to spend 4 is for Legolas, and that's just a card draw, to be honest.
You've also got a big defender already in Beregond.
Yeah, of course. Although, it can be tricky to get Beregond to do multiple defences sometimes. You often have to have the help of someone else's deck doing that. The other thing is you do need to be in Valor for his response as well.
Yeah,
so.
It's not going to do anything for a while.
No.
One thing I like is that sometimes with Defender of Ramos, his main weakness is shadow effects that deal 1 damage to the defending character, and they're not uncommon. There's a smattering of those in the card pool, so this guy's immune to that effectively. That was always the drawback with him, when you defend with him and then you reveal that card and you're like,
or you defend a 4 attack and
it gets +1. Yeah. That's happened to me countless times. So he's not as splashable as Defender of Ramos, that's obvious. You can play Defender of Ramos if you've just got 1 Tactics hero, can't you? I definitely wouldn't play this guy with 1 Tactics hero, unless I was planning to put Steward of Gondor on him.
I think the other thing is, it is a shame at his cost that he doesn't have Sentinel. I'd really like to see, even maybe if it was just part of the Valor response, once you're in Valor he gets this and also Sentinel. I think it's a real shame that he doesn't have that, for multiplayer anyhow, of course. I think if you're paying that much for a defender of this stature and this potential power, you want to be able to use it on other people as well.
Maybe they just didn't want to turn him into mini Beregond. 3 copies of this guy plus Beregond with Sentinel, that would be a lot. In fact, you can give this guy Sentinel with Arwen.
With Arwen.
Yeah, so 5 defense Sentinel guy, Raiment of War on him, 6 defense. Yeah, this is looking better by the minute, actually.
Mm.
Another deck I thought he could potentially find a home in is Gondor Swarm, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't think many of those allies in Gondor Swarm decks are particularly great at defending. A lot of them are fairly weak. He would be 2 willpower if you've got Visionary Leadership, 2 attack if you've got Boromir with a resource in his pool, 4 defense maybe from Valar, 3 if not. So he looks good there. Some of those Gondor decks can use high-cost tactics allies, because you can use Denethor Steward of Gondor on Tactics Hero.
Yeah,
So,
no, I think that's a good
yeah,
point.
maybe.
The decks that he does fit in, I think he's going to be a really, really nice card to have out. I'm super looking forward to popping him in my Hirgon deck for sure. Yeah, I think he's going to be a really fun card.
You could also drop 1 copy of Deerwine for this guy as well.
Yeah.
If you've got 2 copies of him, you could just go down to 1 and use that slot for 1 of him, maybe.
I think I actually only run 1 of him at the moment.
Oh, okay.
I think Defender of Ramos will definitely... I'll probably cut 2 Defender of Ramoses and put 2 of him in there and then just have 1 Ramos just because he's got such a cool sounding name, Ramos.
Yeah, you can roll that R. What about this guy? Defender of Ker Anros.
That's true, actually. All these Spanish defenders.
All right, so the next card is really difficult to pronounce if you're from Bristol, which we are. Then this is going to be embarrassing, at least for the UK listeners. So here we go. So this is Oath of Earl.
Earl.
Okay. It is a 3-cost tactics event, and it says play only if you control a unique character with the Rohan trait and another unique character with the Gondor trait. Response: at the beginning of the combat phase, you resolve the step in which you attack enemies before resolving enemy attacks this phase. Each other player resolves the combat phase as normal after you resolve your attacks, so that means they don't get to have any fun. Basically, you get all the fun with this card.
It's all about you.
Yeah. What do you think?
It's quite expensive, but potentially super, super powerful. Rohan and Gondor, I like putting those 2 guys together. I think it's very thematic and often produces pretty powerful decks because, the Rohan and Gondor heroes are extremely powerful heroes.
The Hirgon deck
is... The Hirgon deck can take advantage of it as well, Also, interestingly, in the Hirgon deck is that often you're wanting to defend with Theoden, but actually you don't take advantage of Theoden's pretty decent 3 attack when you do that. So using this card, you can now have Theoden attacking rather than defending, so that's always nice.
I've noticed when we've played together that sometimes there's a lot of attack power left over.
Yeah.
So maybe you could, if you were going to run this in a Hirgon deck, maybe you could tweak the deck so that you have some turns where you plan to just slaughter everything with all those archers and stuff. There tends to be a lot of range characters that aren't doing much.
Yeah.
You could look at this as a solo card, or in the multiplayer environment, it's a way, because it doesn't say your enemies.
No, you can attack other
Yeah,
people,
it just says enemies. It doesn't say engaged either, so it could be staging area enemies, it could be anything.
Oh, I totally missed that.
Yep, it doesn't say anything about that, so it's just you resolve the step in which you attack enemies. So that now you've got the option to move all that range around the table before your partner who's in trouble gets killed.
Yeah, I totally missed that. Yeah, that's definitely more appealing. I mean, 3 cost is expensive though.
So I did wince at that.
Whole ton of resources.
But maybe, because it's Gondor, you could play Mablung.
Yeah.
Who would get you an extra resource for engaging enemies. That's one way to mitigate that drawback.
Yeah, that's true.
There's an obvious point of comparison I thought with this card, which is Hammerlock, where you have Hammer and 2 other tactics heroes and Thicket of... Is it Thicket of Spears? Yeah, yes. Thicket of Spears. And basically you shut the enemies down and never attack you. It's a very similar idea, really. You could cycle this with Hammer and just kill stuff before it actually does anything to you.
Yeah. I haven't played a Hammer deck for ages.
No, me neither. The downside with Hammerlock is that if you don't get Thicket of Spears, you're going to fail quickly.
There are a few other events that work nicely in that deck, though, to reoccur.
One thing with that card as well is that you have to pay for it with 3 heroes' resources. From
each hero,
yeah. So if you lose a hero for any reason,
it's gone.
Yeah. So this one...
Although if you lose a hero whilst playing that card, something's gone wrong, right?
Maybe, yeah, maybe. Well, there could be other things, like in Siege of Anumas, there's
true,
a location that steals a hero. And actually, when I was in Portland, they told me a story that one of the guys brought his son along, and he was playing a mono tactics deck. It was like all attack, and they said that he was playing Hammerlock, and then there's a location that takes one of your heroes to the camp or something, and he had like 20 enemies, and he couldn't do anything because he couldn't pay for Thicket of Spears anymore. So that's quite funny. So this doesn't have that drawback, but of course, I guess if it steals your Rohan or Gondor hero, but this is unique character anyway, so you might have allies that cover that. So that's one sort of counterpoint. Is similar, but it has that doesn't have that drawback.
No, I think I'll need to play with this card a little bit just to see whether it is worth paying those 3 resources to do it. I think potentially though it can generate some really powerful turns because Quick Strike is a quality card, and still gets played in. If I'm making a deck with tactics in and I'm sort of leafing through the events, I mean, quite often Quick Strike makes it. Not quite as often as some other, very, very good tactics events.
I think it always makes it in the first draft, doesn't it? And you end up cutting it, but you really want to keep it in there because it is fun.
Exactly, it's fun, and it's also powerful as well. I mean, like taking the ability of an enemy away to, attacking you, to have that gone is definitely an extremely powerful thing to do.
Well, now you've said that, maybe there could be a more aggressive tactics deck. Has this 3 copies and 3 copies of Quick Strike, and tries to just deal with enemies rather than running loads of defenders. You've got loads of attackers, and that's your strategy in multiplayer, maybe. Yeah,
have less and just lots of ranged, I guess.
Yeah,
and
recur this with hammer.
No, I like the idea of that actually, and it'd be nice to dust hammer off because I really do like that guy a lot.
Yeah, I hardly ever use him, but he is really fun.
Yeah, he is. I feel like I need to play this card to see if it's worth paying 3 for it at the end of the day.
I never want to read its title out ever again, though.
Earhole.
Oath of Earhole.
Earhole.
Oh, God.
Should we move on to Fearless Scout?
Yeah.
So a slightly easier one to read, I feel. Fearless Scout is 1 cost. It is a spirit attachment, and it's a skill. And it's in a similar vein to a few other attachments that we've seen recently, including one in the last pack. It's attached to a hero, limit 1 per hero. Attached hero gains the Scout trait. Response after you play Fearless Scout from your hand, draw a card. So, as you mentioned in the last video, it cantrips itself, which is nice.
Yeah, I think, didn't we predict this one more or less spot on?
I think you did. So we've got...
I don't think it had been spoiled at the time either, but it was just obvious, wasn't it, really?
Well, I was going to ask what your... I think I know what my guess would be for the 4th and final one, I would assume anyway, unless they sort of dip into them anymore, because we basically haven't got the leadership on, right?
I think most people have guessed it Noble.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, I was going to say Noble. I can't really see it being anything else.
No, we've got some of the cards that require you to have a Noble for them.
Exactly, and all the cards that require you for them to have like this accompanying attachment with it.
Yeah.
I think there's not loads to say. I wonder if we will miss anything. The Council Royal Treachery one wasn't super obvious, but or at least it wasn't to me.
You mean is there a broken combo with the Scout trait?
So I'm wondering whether these are the types of cards that basically potentially break the game. I couldn't think of anyone else looking through it. So it's very similar to the Ranger and the Warrior one. I think Scouting Party is probably the obvious one. Maybe +2 willpower.
Here's a weird thing about this card, right? Scout trait is probably the one that's least developed.
Yeah.
But it's the one I'm most excited to see being granted because it's the least developed. It's the one that hopefully we might get more love for in the next cycle, so this could become good.
There's not really a scout deck, is there? Or anything?
No, I've seen one. I mean, the card you mentioned there, Scouting Parties, like that's the one I've always wanted to try to trigger. And it's either you don't have enough scouts to make it worth it, or you've got a ranger mixed in there disrupting it because they have to all be scouts. Yeah, which is a weird limitation.
I thought is it that all scouts get +2, or you have to have all scouts?
No, they all have to be scouts. Yeah, I hope.
That is a weird limitation. Yeah. But I guess this makes that limitation a lot easier to circumvent. Right?
The only other card I could find that's interesting for this is Warden of Arnor.
Yeah, I thought that actually. One progress in the first location.
Yeah, that's always been a bit underwhelming for me in solo because sometimes it does nothing. So it ends up getting cut. But this could make it more interesting in multiplayer maybe if there becomes, if we get an interesting scout deck.
When I was looking through as well, a lot of the cards that required the scout trait and like another trait as well, and also a lot of the ones that required the scout trait as a standalone requirement. I think a lot of them were just characters. So I kind of wondered, like, would it not be better just throwing a cheap scout rather than a title? And if you're looking for that, like if you draw a card and you need the scout and you need a scout on the board, you could either put a body on the board or you could give a hero a title. I don't know. It just felt a bit like I would potentially choose the cheap scout, although there's probably not any 1-cost scouts that I can think of. But
let me think. What about that guy from the core set, the 1-cost leadership guy? Snowborn Scout. He's probably a scout. He's got
to be a scout.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I suppose his leadership. But I guess if your deck is around the scout trait, this is 3 more opportunities to do that in your deck. And it cantrips. That's nice.
Can we talk about the artwork? Because this gentleman
is he Robin?
Oh no, I'm not talking about the Hobbit. I'm talking about this this chap sitting in front of the fire. I'm very concerned for his testicular health because he looks like he's wearing something very flammable, and that fire is licking that garment.
Yeah, right.
I personally wouldn't sit that close to a fire with my legs open.
No way. And also, I feel like he's probably quite a greasy fellow of himself. A bit of spontaneous combustion might be going on.
I hope he's kind of fallen asleep maybe, because that Hobbit is very close to him. How he can't see him from there.
Or smell him or something.
Yeah.
That Hobbit looks like he's just jacking him with loads of stuff. Though.
This is the best bit of this card, is this artwork. You could pick this apart for days. There's nothing on that stick either. He's roasting something. Yeah. What's he cooking?
I thought it was a sausage for a sec, but I think that's his side boob.
Okay, this card just got more playable because you can laugh at it when it comes out.
Yeah, and you can say it as well, which is always a bonus.
Fearless Scout. Not the oath of... Okay.
It's kind of like the horse that we were talking about earlier. The Armored
Destroyer.
A Destroyer.
Probably wrong.
So next up we've got a side quest. I think it might be on you for that one.
Okay, this is Rally the West. Spirit side quest. Cost 1, 6 quest points. And it says limit 1 copy of Rally the West in the victory display. While this quest is in the victory display, each hero gets +1 willpower. It's victory 1.
In my going back to talking about the same deck that I played for the past month, it does splash Spirit. And I thought it'd be quite fun to put this in there, because I love bragging about how much willpower I managed to enter the quest just with my heroes.
Yeah, how much is it? Is it 11?
It normally starts on 11, but it can go up to 13.
Mm.
So with this, it's 15, which is...
Wait, no, 16.
Oh, yeah.
Is that right? Can we do maths?
Wait, 11, and then max does 13. Yeah, plus 3 more, 16. Get there in the end.
It's been a long weekend.
But yeah, I thought that would be quite fun.
Yeah.
I do love constantly reminding everyone that is just with the heroes.
That has become a bit of a meme, that.
Yeah, I know. I don't know, as far as side quests go, this is okay. I said that about the last, I think I might have said that about the last one.
I'm happy to be proven wrong about this one again, but in terms of solo, I don't think it's worth it. I tried it in the Doonhir deck, and I quickly took it out because I realised it was basically +1 willpower, and I never really wanted to actually complete it.
Yeah, and also it's 6 to complete. Like, that's quite high for side quests, isn't it? It's normally a bit lower than that.
Yeah, I mean, in multiplayer, I could see this again being at its most powerful.
Of course.
Yeah, maybe it depends on the quest then.
Yeah. I feel like that can be said about a lot of these side quests.
Yeah, maybe, but I feel like gather information. I'd run that any quest. That's good. I feel like Keep Watch now as well is one that potentially could be used anywhere.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Do you often quest all 3 heroes?
No.
So the only deck that I ever do is that Hirgon deck. And actually, if Theoden doesn't get his horse, he doesn't quest.
Mm-hmm.
And to set that up, you need to get Spirit on him as well. So you need to look for the song and the horse. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't always happen every game. So that's only 2 heroes, and that's with a deck that's specifically trying to quest with heroes. You
could look at it, I suppose, 1 resource for 3 willpower, which is quite a good trade. Sylvan Refugee is probably the closest you can get, 1 resource for 2 willpower.
Yeah, that's true.
But like you said, it's only heroes. So if you're playing any deck that doesn't have 3 questing heroes, I probably would not run it.
No. I mean, I will put 1 in my into that Hirgon deck, just to see what happens.
Yeah.
I think even in multiplayer, when I look around the table, I see people throwing in a hero, maybe 2. Mm-hmm. I don't often see everyone questing with all of their heroes, because often heroes are too powerful to just have 1 job, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I hope we're wrong, though. I hope this turns out to be better.
Really nice that it's victory 1 as well. Get those massive victory point wins, right?
Are they all victory 1? I can't remember.
They are all victory 1. I don't think I've ever counted my victory up at the end of the game.
This is +2 for Thrindir.
+2 for Thrindir, yeah. That's true, actually.
Well, here's another thought about it. What if you're running Golden Shield?
Well, yeah, you do.
It's effectively +1 willpower and +1 defense now. So maybe there are some tricks you can do there with this. That deck's got some serious love this cycle.
I was thinking that. Well, to be honest, it never existed until the last pack.
No, not really. But if you look back and think about the cards that have been released and what could actually go into that mono tactics deck now.
And Theoden was always a bit of a joke as well.
He was. He was panned. But that deck, if I'm right, is the highest willpower you can get. It can be equaled by
I think
spirit.
it can be equal.
11 out of the gate is the best you can do with
I think
heroes.
you're right, it can be equal. But even equaling it, you still need
You need AON, don't you?
right? So you can't even equal it and have them both playing at the same time. I know I've got a lot of love for that deck, and I will try this out because I feel like, you know, you do use the shield, you do use your heroes to quest him, and it does splash spirit. So I will give it a go. I'm not super sold on it though. I don't really feel like this is a top side quest.
I don't think it's for solo personally, unless you're playing 3 questing heroes.
Do you feel that that could be said for most side quests in general?
It depends. I mean, I've tried various different ones in my Thrindir decks. And that's one thing I really like about Thrindir, is that he's opened up so many different options for side quests. But double back, -5 threat is good in solo. It's even better in multiplayer. Gather information, I love being able to get any card I want on turn 2 possibly. Keep watch is good depending on which quest. So it depends on what you're trying to do. But I think most of the time this one would be underwhelming. Like I said, 1 cost for maybe 1 to 3 willpower. You're probably better off in solo running Sylvan Refugee.
Yeah,
I would say.
So yeah, I'm interested to play it, but not super excited.
One we need to see in action though, in a 4-player game.
Yeah, I feel like
where it'll add up.
I really didn't appreciate the -1 defense until I saw it come out, and then it was like, well, okay, we'll be playing this side quest a fair amount. Should we move on? Duodane Pipe.
This is yours, yes.
Duodane Pipe is a lore card. It costs 1. It's an attachment, and it's an item pipe. Attached to a Duodane character, limit 1 per character. Action: exhaust Duodane Pipe and place a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck to draw a card. Cool card, right?
Yeah, initially I looked at that and I thought, that is weird. The more I've thought about this, I think this is amazing.
I mean,
I might be hedging my bets there, like going too far, but the more I think about filtering the deck, repeatedly,
under the mountain, that type of thing.
Yeah, well, what I like about this is sometimes in the early game you've got expensive, so Dunedain especially, you've got expensive allies, you can't play them yet. You're trying to find something else to set up your board. This is a way to swap a card, basically. It's repeatable, first of all. I mean, how powerful is Daron's Runes being able to dig into your deck by 2 cards and discard 1 of them? Every lore deck runs that, more or less. It costs 1, okay, so you have to invest in it, but it doesn't go away, so you can keep using it over and over. And if you get more than 1 of them out, suddenly you're looking like being able to cycle your deck very quickly, 3 cards a turn possibly. I like that it says Dunedain character as well, just like Hobbit Pipe says character and Dwarf Pipe says character, so it can go on allies.
Yeah.
I like the fact that it's giving us control over an aspect of the game we haven't had before, which is the bottom of our deck. I don't think there are any cards that let you play with that in any way. There is a quest, what's it called? Fate of Numenor from Grey Havens. They've just released the Nightmare decks for that one, and there's an enemy in it that messes around with your attack power based on the cost of the card on the bottom of your deck. So this is perhaps designed with that in mind, the ability to at least control that and stop that enemy from messing you up. I think it's something like the cost of the card is how many characters you're allowed to attack him with. So obviously if it's 0, you're going to be in a bit of a predicament. You want a 4-cost card down there probably. So I really like that. I like the artwork as well. I think he's done a great job with the light.
The smoke also looks brilliant, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When I read this card, the 2 things I had written down were very cool and very strong. I'll be honest though, I also did think, and maybe when we talk about it a bit more, it might sort of illuminate a little bit more. But I thought it was strange that it was Duodane. Like I didn't feel like this is something that Duodane do. Do you know what I mean? They're not really known for sort of like filtering their deck or card draw. You know, I thought it could be any trait that got this card, right?
Possibly.
I mean, all this action anyway.
Well, this is Aragorn's pipe, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, I just meant sort of the action specifically. So the ability to put a card to the bottom of your deck and then draw a card. Like I wondered why that was given. It didn't feel, for me, it didn't really sort of tie in with Duodane. Well, I think it's great for them because you're right, they've got those expensive allies that you can really struggle to pay for at the start until you can get things like that attachment to reduce them by the amount of enemies you're engaged with. I don't know, it didn't feel like super thematic to me, but I maybe I'm just missing it slightly.
What were you expecting? More like enemy manipulation stuff?
Well, I just felt like that's the kind of route that they go. They go with sort of being engaged with things and that being the sort of main sort of an enemy focused, that being the sort of main sort of way that deck is played. I think it's great though. I absolutely amazing card, but yeah, I just wondered why do it and could it have been any other trait?
Maybe it's like I said, they can take some time to set up.
Yes.
And you can end up with a lot of expensive stuff. So this is a way of cycling it, maybe. And it's not uncommon, to be honest, when you play Dunedain to actually get through your entire deck.
Yeah.
It's not as if you're not going to see the 4-cost Warden of Illuminus that you can't play on turn 1. You're going to see him again eventually, or whichever ally.
There's plenty of ways to shuffle your deck as well.
Bit
of a shame it's not the other way around, right? It'd be nice to look at the card and then put a card onto the bottom of your deck.
To see if you want to do that.
Yeah, just to like look at the guy and be like, oh, actually, no, that's not one I want to put that onto the bottom of my deck.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so almost like Daron's Runes without throwing the card away. Yeah, that would probably be a bit too strong. I think.
Strong enough as it is, to be honest.
Anything that says draw on it, though, immediately kind of gets your interest, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think as well, it's fitting with its lore for sure.
Oh yeah, Master of the Forge all day, every day with this.
Pipes, man, they're getting cool, aren't they?
Yep, there's another pipe card coming up very soon.
Non-unique, I think, is a great point. You brought that up earlier. Get a couple of these out, and you really start filtering the deck through.
Doesn't say a character you control either, so you can pass it to a comrade if you want to, and they can get some draw.
Thought it might be interesting to put it on Bearable as well. Tapper, draw 2 cards, and then do this as well.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Then she's just an absolute draw machine at that point. And as well, you can tap her for 2 cards, and then you've got a lot bigger selection of cards that you might not want to see right away.
I like the fact that you could potentially run crossover pipe decks now as well, because before we had the Hobbit pipe.
Yeah.
I think there's Wizard pipe, Dwarf pipe, and Dunedain pipe. I could see, so somebody's actually posted up a deck earlier on Rings TV with Hobbits and pipes. But now you could run maybe Aragorn, Frodo, and Pippin, Laura.
Or even Gandalf, get all the pipes in there.
Maybe, yeah. You can have an absolute smoke fest.
Hot box
Gandalf pipe,
place.
Bilbo Baggins to grab the pipe from your deck, 3 copies of him.
Yeah.
Defend with him, Chud defense, play him again. I think it's going to be awesome.
I was going to mention it on the next card, but I might as well mention it now.
Go on.
But with all of these pipes and a lot of pipe love in this pack, I'd love for someone to post a pipe deck to try. So I'd love to try a song deck and a pipe deck.
There are pipe decks out there.
But have you played any?
I haven't tried it, no.
No,
I'd
like to see one that people or someone's having a lot of fun with, and I'd love to give it a go.
There are good events as well that trigger off pipes. So we've got one coming up, but there's also the Smoke Rings event where you can lower your threat by 1, and it gives +1 willpower to heroes. That'll be really cool if you've got loads of pipes out.
Especially touching back on like boosting Hobbit willpower.
Overall, like I said, a card that I was puzzled by initially, but the more I've thought about it, the more I am keen to try it to see if it really is as powerful as I suspect, or if it's actually dud. All right.
Should we pass the card on the left-hand side? You can take the next one.
Sure thing. This is Old Toby, which is a 2-cost lore event. It has the Pipeweed trait, which I don't think we've seen that trait before in the game. Action: draw 1 card for each pipe you control. Heal 1 damage from each hero with a pipe attachment. And I'm going to read this text because it sounds very mysterious. How old Toby came by the plant is not recorded, for to his dying day he would not tell. The Fellowship of the Ring. He's busy.
He's not a grass.
So what do you think?
I mean, like, it's another pipe attachment, isn't it? It's sort of pipe. It's another card that plays into the pipe attachment. Drawing the cards is what you're going to do it for, aren't you? Really, 2 though, so you'll need to be drawing at least 2 cards for it to be worth it.
To feel worth it, yeah.
I think the healing part could make this quite a tricky card to play. So you might be holding on to this card where you really want to draw cards, but you're not healing anything. So you might be a bit like, I'm not sure. So perhaps that healing is going to just be sort of gravy. When it triggers, you know what I mean? It's going to perhaps not be something that you're looking to do. You're looking more for the cards, and the healing is just a bit of a bonus, really.
It feels clunky at first.
A bit situational.
Yeah, it feels odd, doesn't it? Like heal 1 damage from each hero with a pipe. I was thinking this is probably best in Hobbits for pipe decks.
Yeah, of course.
Because you've got Good Meal,
yeah,
which can reduce the cost to 0 effectively. Maybe 3 pipes out in play, or maybe 6 pipes if you're doing Dunedain and Hobbits. And also, because Hobbits have really low health, it's not as if you defend with them. If you let's say you've got archery damage, you might spend one. You might put 1 damage on each hobbit.
Yeah,
and this is a way of this is a way of removing all of those. The way I try to think about this card is like comparison points for its cost. Something like Lore of Imladris, which is 2. That you're smiling, so have you got that noted down or something?
Yeah.
Okay, so Lore of Imladris is more for like a hero who's got a deep health pool, and this isn't going to be very good for that type of hero. But Lore of Imladris isn't very good with hobbits because you're probably just healing 1 damage for 2. So here you can heal multiple 1 damages and get some cards possibly. So in that respect, it might be useful there.
There are currently only 4 pipes that I could find. So there's not loads of pipes, is there?
No.
And I didn't really sort of see very many pipes for Black. I'd like to have multiple of these pipes on this guy, like like a chimney going off or something. But I don't know. Maybe it will come up. Like maybe it's something again that will just sort of be built upon, and then this card will start getting a lot stronger. I don't know.
You need to be careful with the pipes because if you put all these pipes in your deck, you've got 12 pipes. What else is in your deck? You're just going to be
backy.
You're just going to be drawing pipes and not actually doing anything. No. So you probably do need to go. Okay, this is a pipe deck that focuses on this race, maybe.
Yeah.
I really hope we get more events that trigger off pipes, though.
That guy looks so happy, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. Do you know who he is? I actually did my research on this guy.
Is it old? I'm assuming he's old Toby. He doesn't look that old, though, but I guess hobbits are a bit deceptive.
It is old Toby, yeah. So his real name is Tobold Hornblower, who was a respected gardener, most notable for his discovery and cultivation of the herb pipeweed. And this variety was named after him, so there we go.
I can't believe there's a card here with a pipeweed trait. Do you think that's going to be built upon?
I'd like it if it was. I mean, it's nice and thematic, true to the world of Middle Earth, possibly, where they smoke a lot. I want to say one other thing about this. This is a dead card if you draw it early, so you probably don't run 3 copies.
I'd have liked to have seen this cost 1, to be honest, because I just don't see how you're going to be drawing more than like. But then it does have the healing. It does have the healing. I suppose they've got to factor that into it as well.
The thing is, it is conditional, and that's why I think you run 1 or 2. 2 would probably be the sweet spot for a pipe deck. But if it was 1 to draw 3 cards, that would seem like a lot.
There's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. Point. Yeah, it is. It is.
I don't know. Really funny card. I like it for that. It's definitely. I'm very glad to see it in the pack.
Yeah, you can do lots of funny impressions with this as well. It'll be a fun one to play in game nights and stuff.
For sure. I just can't see it in like a top tier deck.
Maybe the artwork is swaying your mind, possibly, and the thought of this being a premier tier 1 card is too much to handle. Maybe
potentially.
Is that his hoe there? He's sitting on a
pipes and hose, man.
Yeah.
Right, shall we move on?
Yeah. Okay.
Let's have a look at the. All right, this is the Southron Refugee. So, going to see a bit more Harad love, I feel, and it is Harad traded. It's an ally. It's neutral, which I like to see for the Harads because I feel like certainly a part of Middle Earth. I feel like neutral is probably quite fitting for it.
That makes sense.
2 cost, 1 willpower, 1 attack, 0 defense, 2 hit points. It's got an action here. Exhaust Southron Refugee to reduce the cost of the next Harad ally you play this phase by 1. Big old ramp card. What do you feel?
Yeah, initially it looks really vanilla, doesn't it? It's like, that's not very exciting. But actually, the more I thought about it, the more I like it. Because you play 1, and then you play the next one. Is now reduced, and you get the third one for free. There are a number of large Harad allies who can take time to get into play. Just keys in very well with those, and you've got the leadership one as well from a couple of packs ago. Overall, I really like it now that I've thought about that. It's 2 willpower effectively if you're playing a Harad deck because you've probably got Khalil's headdress.
Very true. Although you're probably not going to be questing with it. It is exhausted for its action.
Yeah, well, maybe once you've got everybody out.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Then it's going to
be.
It's
not dead then, is it?
No. And you might not actually need to exhaust all 3 to get the allies into play.
But I mean, having all 3 in play is going to be the dream, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had very, very similar thoughts to you, to be honest. Great that it's not unique. Great that it will pay for itself, or future copies of itself. The Harad allies, as we spoke about in the last video, are extremely expensive, but well worth getting out. They are really, really worth it. They've got great stats. They're almost on a par with hero quality. But yeah, boy, they're expensive. And so I feel like this is going to be a really nice way of just smoothing that. It lets you ramp into them. You'll be playing these guys as early as you can, and then hopefully by sort of like turn 3, you'll be having your big boys hitting the table consistently.
I think that's been the trouble so far for those Harad decks, is getting those resources. You need Steward of Gondor, maybe Theodred as well, to afford all of those 5-cost allies. So I like the fact this has got 2 health as well, because that makes it potentially splashable. I'm not sure anybody will, but maybe if you've got a small card pool, you might run this anyway as sort of like a cheap
Chud.
Yeah, Chud ally, a bit like Envoy of Pelagir, which is most of the time effectively 1, but you could look at these guys in the same way if you've got multiple copies, because you can use them on themselves.
Kind of like how you splash often the Spirit Outlands.
Yeah.
Because, once, one by itself.
Well, yeah, they ramp.
But yeah, they ramp right into each other.
I mean, they're on a different level to this person, but...
this refugee.
I was just thinking earlier, because I'm playing that Fast Dread deck, and I was trying to find allies that I could put in there to soak up archery damage, because there's a reasonable amount in Black Serpent from that horrible enemy that discards an ally. Anyway, and I looked at this guy and I thought, oh, he's got 2 health, because a lot of the spirit allies have actually got 1 health. The Ether Swordsmen have all got 1 health, so they can't take archery. Galadriel's Handmaiden's 1 health as well. So that's another perk of this, maybe, is you could splash it if you wanted to.
If you play all 3 as well, you're effectively spending 3 resources for 6 health.
Yeah. Because the first one's 2, isn't it? And then you exhaust that one to get 1. Yeah.
And then the last one's 3, yeah. So 6 health, 3 willpower for 3. It's actually not that bad, really, is it? I mean, obviously, sort of talking about quite extreme outlier cases here. I think this is going in a Harad deck if you've got, if you're playing Harad cards.
It's auto-include that.
It's 100% there. This card alone makes me super excited to remake that Harad deck that I was playing, because I feel like it was a bit slow. It was a little bit tricky at times to try and get those big boys out. I'm really hoping this will fix that. And really, help out, just smooth it a little bit. You build slow with these guys, and you build into those real big beast Harad allies. And
the neutral. The fact that this is neutral can potentially move you away from mono leadership, which could make the deck more interesting.
Yeah. Khalil's ability is to spend resources from his pool for any Harad ally.
Of any sphere,
yeah. And because she's neutral, you could pay for her using other heroes, and then use her and Khalil to get together and make a vicious baby with 3 attack.
A nice family.
Nice family, yeah. Not a family you want to meet on the battlefield, though.
No.
I was super excited to set my Harad deck back up with the inclusion of some of these cards that we've seen, and very excited to see what comes out in the next 2 packs. I'm hopeful that there'll be a few more Harad cards, and I will probably look to play it maybe in the next set, because I do like playing with the new cards when they come out. I like new traits, if you will, new archetypes. But I often feel like it doesn't quite get fleshed out until you get the 6th and final pack. Do you know what I mean? Also, the ability to discard a Harad from your hand to ready a Harad character with Khalil, you can use that on this card, and then so you could tap it.
Yeah, there's no limit here.
There's no tap it, chuck something, ready it. You got 2 out, 3 out. Suddenly, you can afford those 5-cost allies quite conceivably in 1 turn, rather than having to save over a few turns.
Not uncommon to have multiple copies of those in hand either, is it? Because if you're running the big ones, you're probably running 3 copies for all 3 of them.
And it's quite comfortable to run copies of all 3 because of Khalil's ability. And
you can reshuffle them with the headdress then, can you?
Exactly. I'm really looking forward to see how the Harad deck shapes up over the next 2 packs. I'm very excited to play it. I feel like she's a bit of a key in that one, a bit of glue that just keeps it all together, lets you ramp into them.
I really hope it can reach the level of some other decks. I mean, it may never reach the level of dwarves, but it would be nice if it could take on some Nightmare quests, maybe. That would be fun.
Yeah, or just in multiplayer for it to feel like you're not getting carried.
Yeah.
Which it kind of felt like it was when I was playing it before.
All right, cool. So what do we think about that pack overall? I feel more positive about it now that I've sat here for an hour talking about it. Initially, I didn't feel like it was as good as the previous one, but now that we've talked through the various different things we could do with the cards, there are some of them that I'm really excited to try, like the Dunedain Pipe.
Yes.
And that 4-cost Tactics ally is looking more interesting now, actually, now that we've discussed him.
Well, having spammed Haradrim, I feel like when I first opened this pack, I was like, ooh, lots of cards I could try in that deck. And I still feel that's the way. I'm still looking forward to it, but I think the one that I'm most excited about is probably the refugee, to be honest.
Not old Toby?
Old Toby.
Why is old Toby from Yorkshire?
Everyone from like the Hobbit land is from Yorkshire.
Okay.
Old Toby. No, I'm not that excited about old Toby at the moment. But apart from just the kicks.
But what? It's going to be great because you can go, I'm going to do some smoking. And then you can just do silly things like that. And everybody will look at you like, what are you talking about? And then you play old Toby.
Yeah.
And they go, oh my God, old Toby. Everybody relax.
What a pro play. Yo, hold my pipe, check this out.
Yeah, watch this, lads, watch this. And they're all expecting, that big 5-cost event from the last pack, the 3 peoples. And instead you play old Toby and everybody's really sad.
But no, everybody be jovial, surely. Realise you've wasted 2 resources to draw a card.
No, you might heal 1 damage as well.
You could draw into another old Toby.
You could do, yeah, you could do. I think you should use the pipe to put the Toby on the bottom of your deck until you're ready to use it. Yeah. That's actually not a bad idea, to be honest. That makes me consider running 3 copies with that pipe.
I really, really hope someone points us towards a pipe deck. I really want to try one.
Go on Rings LCG and have a look.
Yeah.
There's a good one that was released a while ago. Smoke Yourself Thin, I think it's called.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, that's a cool name. I like that. I'll have to check it out.
I'm also really happy with the hero in this pack. Like I said, I think he moves Doonhir decks away from being gimmicky into actually viable for a wider range of quests. Because, like I said, you can just destroy stuff with no challenge because you never engage any enemies until one engages you and you go, I can't defend that. That's it. I'm done. You lose a hero.
I think as well, like as we mentioned when we were chatting about him, I think he is splashable. I think he's a great, great hero.
And there may be decks that don't use Doonhir but can use this guy.
But I think that's probably going to be very likely because it's reducing your threat and its defense in Spirit. Like if I'm running a support deck and I'm like, let's chuck him a defender. Perhaps you go towards Spirit Baragon, but I feel that often you might see other players playing Baragon.
Yeah.
I feel like with this guy, it's just like he's just insurance, isn't he? Mm-hmm. He's insurance and he's decent.
Well, I like the fact that he may not have Sentinel, but because he's Spirit, he can get access to R1 to get Sentinel and +1 defense. Yeah. Really nice. She's still the best ally in the game.
Hands down. Great artwork as well.
Mm-hmm.
They've been on point with their heroes this set. There's been
this cycle,
there's been some quality heroes this cycle. Really cool stuff.
No Brand Son of Banes yet.
As of yet.
Although, now that we're talking about Brand Son of Bane, what about him with Oath of that word I can't say? Because you could use him to attack and then ready somebody else's heroes and they'd be ready to do something. I don't think anybody's ever going to do that.
No.
But it could happen.
I think that card's an interesting one. I think when you sit down and make some decks, I think that card will potentially be pretty fun.
Oath of Earl? That one. Oath of Earl. We could say that. Earl.
Yeah. No, a very cool pack. I'm excited about playing some of these cards and excited about seeing what you come up with as well, to be honest.
All right, well, thank you very much for joining us, everybody, for this Adventure Pack player card review. I do hope you enjoyed it. Any final thoughts, Liam?
Really looking forward to playing some more Rings, to be honest, Ryan. It's going to be good.
Me too, as always.
Thanks for having us on.